Just a couple quick announcements here. Mark your calendar for our next Zoom meeting Thursday, January 8th at 7 p.m. Central Time. Kaylin Laline Hatch will demonstrate horse portraiture in lunar black. Uh, let's see here. Next, we are looking for a new workshops co-chair, so someone to join the Minnesota Watercolor Society board. A few highlights. If you take this position, you get to attend workshops for free. You get to pick the artists that you're interested in, so that's a nice bonus. And you get to work with our awesome co-chair, Denise. So if anyone's interested in that or has questions, send an email to workshops@minnesotawatercolors.com, or frankly, you can reach out to any board member and we'll get you in the right direction. And finally, this is an email you probably already received, but for those of you who missed it, to the members of the Minnesota Watercolor Society, we are writing to tell you that we are upgrading our website. Part of this upgrade is to enhance the member experience, and you will likely experience some of these things. Members can add a gallery of photos if they wish to their profile so other members can see your work. Members can download a membership card. Members will have enhanced access to their membership information. Members will have a more streamlined experience when submitting artwork for a show. We will tell you more as we move towards going live with our new website, but we wanted you to know that you will be receiving an email with information about logging into the new website. So that's very important. If you see this in the next few weeks, please know that this is real and not spam. Thank you so much for your support, and please know that we'd be happy to hear your feedback on the new website. Okie dokie. I think that pretty much wraps it up for the announcements. So I'm going to turn it back over to you.
Okay, thanks, Daniel.
Or Andy. Yeah.
I'll introduce Dan Mondloch next. The Minnesota Watercolor Society is happy to welcome Dan Mondloch as our special artist tonight. Dan is an award-winning third-generation painter. He's been painting since he was in ninth grade and has received his BFA at St. Cloud State University. He's been featured in many magazines, including Plein Air Magazine, Watercolor Artist, and Southwest Art Magazine. And he's won many awards, including, here's some recent ones, the Gene Stern Legacy Award at the Laguna Invitational in Laguna, California, and the Best of Show at the Grand Marais Plein Air Festival. Dan lives in Cold Spring with his wife, Mallory, sons Jack and Drew, and his little daughter, Emma, and his plein air painting canine buddy, Ruby. As you know, canine buddy is a dog. He teaches at the White Bear Lake Center for the Arts, and he also teaches on terracotta. You can find more workshops he's giving on his website if you take a look at that. Tonight, Dan is doing critiques for us. I think we have about 30 people that have submitted paintings. So he'll go in alphabetical order of the artist's last name. So please be online when he gets to your painting so he can talk with you. Okay, take it away, Dan.
Yes, please be online so I can scold you about your painting and the things you need to change. I'm just joking, of course. I like giving feedback on paintings. I teach a lot. I enjoy hearing your perspective too a little bit, just to kind of have a sense of what it is you're looking for feedback in your painting. So if you're watching and listening, please just keep that in mind when we get to your painting. It's helpful to know. I can kind of tell where you're at in your ability levels, but it's nice to know, like, okay, I was struggling with this part and I don't know how to solve this problem, because that's really what painting is just a series of problem solving, and sometimes there are good solutions to those problems you're facing. So thanks everybody for having me back and doing this again this year. Like I said, I enjoy doing this. I enjoy teaching. Watercolor is my passion for sure. I paint in oil and acrylic, but watercolor is what was, growing up with in the house with my dad painting, and I just love it. So thanks for having me, and I'll share my screen and we'll go through the images. I think with the number of paintings we've got, it'll probably be about 2 to 3 minutes each painting. So when it's your turn, if you can pop in and just let me know what you're looking for feedback. And they do go in alphabetical order. And I think that's all I was going to cover, Britt, if I remember right. So I will get to screen share in here. I'm requesting the option to screen share. Is it showing up?
Yeah, it should be. I clicked allow.
Okay, let's try again. There we go. Okay. Oh, good. You're going to see my email first. All right, switch to the right page here. Okay, I'm going to scroll back up. And, all right, it's last name, first name, right? So we've got Ivy Bailey. So these are the images that we've got to go through. Thank you, everybody, for providing your reference photo. That helps me quite a bit so I can kind of see what you're shooting for. But I think these first two don't have reference photos, so I'll just dig right into it. Sometimes, I know everybody comes from a different perspective when they're painting. I'm a representational painter, so I like painting things that look realistic and kind of authentic that way. So I'm really focused on the values of the scene, visual literacy, light and shade, things like that. But I also know that people come from a different perspective. Not everybody paints that way, and that's great. There's nothing wrong with that, whether it's abstract or just kind of intuitive painting. So I'll try to keep that in mind as I'm giving feedback. So, all right, looking at this painting here, I think you can probably see my cursor. This painting has a good design, so I'm looking at an overall dominance of warm colors with an accent of a cool shape right here. I'm really appreciating the calligraphy and the line work. So when you hear me say calligraphy, I'm talking about these small, thin lines. And I really like when I can look, I'll try to zoom in here and show you. But I really like when that thin line has a gestural brushstroke to it because it carries energy with it. So when you get that rough texture, it maintains the energy in the brushstroke and looks really good. So, okay, I like the way these leaves are pointing and kind of guiding you towards the focal point. If there is anything that I might suggest to change in this, it would be to eliminate some of what I call the static in painting. So these are small light value shapes that can be distracting. They're not always a bad thing. They preserve light and create a sparkle in a scene. But if you look at areas like, see if I can't I can't do that anymore. Here we go. Something like this right here that's closer to the peripheral or the outside of the painting, I might just glaze that down a little bit with a light value color just to try to get it not have so much contrast. Same with some of these other areas. Things like that. And that'll allow the value contrast that we're seeing in this spot to pop even a little bit more. So thinking about it as a hierarchy, I want to create the contrast in my focal point and try to minimize the other areas. So it's feedback, it's an idea. You may not like the feedback that I give, and you don't have to change it. It's just something that I would offer as a suggestion that might improve the painting. So keep that in mind as we're going. I love the scraping in the background and the muted colors that offset the intense colors. So good job, Ivy. Is Ivy with us? Do you have any questions or anything specifically you were looking to have me answer?
I'm looking through here to see if Ivy's with us right now. I'm not sure.
Okay, no problem. And you can always, if somebody else has a comment or a question too, it's okay to ask it. What we just want to avoid is this going too long, of course. So if you have a question, just keep it brief and I'll be happy to answer it. So let's move on to the next one here. See if I can't, it's not letting me scroll through them. I'll just click out and click back in. Well, this is a familiar scene, isn't it? Yeah, the snow here. I think this is a fantastic painting. I spent a little time looking at this. I love the splatter of the masking fluid. The darker background really offsets the white on the perimeter of this bush with the snow and frost on it. Thought that looked really nice. I was appreciating the diagonal nature of these branches up here, how they lead your eye in and down towards the focal point. Um, I like the offset of this white paper next to these just kind of toned areas of paper. So it allows that white paper to sparkle. And on that theme, I would probably take this type of a value here and just glaze down these branches up here. They'll still have enough oomph to kind of lead the eye down and in, but it would isolate this as the main white paper in the picture and just enhance it a little bit. So that'd be my suggestion there, but great variety of texture, of shapes, very organic feeling. I like the soft texture of the background versus this very crisp edge on the white. Again, some nice calligraphy in here. And just overall, it's a pleasing painting. So very nicely done. No suggestions on that. All right, so we've got a painting here of a boy spraying himself with the hose. Here's the reference photo, just so you can kind of get a sense of what we're going for. And I don't, when I'm on the picture, I don't have the name. So this is Ann Bircher. Ann, are you with us?
Yes, I am. Yes, I
All
am.
right. Ann, nice job here. Was there anything specifically you were looking for feedback on?
Well, the spray, the water. Watercolor, you want to paint water with water. So
Yeah.
that's my biggest challenge. This is the third rendition of this painting that I've tried.
Okay. And so how to paint water?
Spray, how to do spray like that. I mean, I've tried all different kinds of things.
Okay. This is one that I downloaded, so I'm actually gonna pull this into Photoshop and do a little bit of work on it. So let's pull this into Photoshop here. All right, so can everybody see the Photoshop screen here?
No.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Nope, I'm just still seeing the photo.
Well,
Now I see you.
great. Now you see it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
Perfect. I got a little time clock here. It's not letting me actually work. Uh-oh. Technology glitches. There we go. All right, so looking at the reference photo earlier, I noticed that the spray was much lighter than the background. And so I'm going to take what do we got here? Burn tool. Change the size up quite a bit here. There we go. Adjust this down. And right here is where the spray's coming out. So I would probably darken that background a little bit. And right there, you can already see that starting to come out. If we lower the size of this, right there, then we can kind of get that sense. I'm gonna go a little lower. Good. The other thing, so now the spray is kind of popping out. I'd be tempted if it were me to just take a little bit of a lighter color here, move the size up, strengthen the light in this area, like that. And then we take the burn tool again. We'll just go a little bit smaller. I'm really focused on light and shade. So I would give these legs the shadow that I was seeing in the reference photo. And same thing for underneath the head here.
Okay.
Like that. So right there, the hose is a little bit thick. You could kind of shrink that by lifting it or using some wash, but just by kind of darkening the background, I think you bring the water out. I'm always focused when I'm painting on the values of the scene, how light or how dark things are. That's really the key to making anything look right or to look realistic. So that would be where I would go with this painting. So I hope that helped a little bit.
Thank you so much. It does. Yeah, thank you.
Great. We'll go back to this here. All right. Yeah, so looking at the reference photo again, you can see that's lighter than the background. There's also quite a bit more yellow in the greens, so I would focus on that. You can see here the contrast between the light and shadow on the legs. Um, People are always very hesitant to paint skin tones darker, but this skin is very, very much like a mid-value, maybe even some darks in there, and then the highlight on the back of the neck, the back of the shirt. So those would be the things that I would look for to tie together that sense of light and shade in the entire scene. Nice job, Anne. I like the painting. I love the subject. A few little tweaks, and I think that would help out. I would even do it on this painting. I would probably wet that whole background and drop the darker color in, wet into wet, so it has a soft texture. And okay, Anne, does that satisfy your inquiry, Anne?
Yes, that helps a lot. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Yeah,
Thank
you're
you.
welcome. And Nancy Bergman, you're up next. This is a cool reference photo, very lively, nice intense colors, great energy to it. Looking at the reference photo, then seeing the translation to watercolor, I thought you nailed this. I thought it's got kind of the energy that the reference had. I was really appreciating some of the blending of colors that you're allowing to have happen in areas. So when I look at like this right here, I love the way that warm and cool mix together. You're getting granulation in there, which is a beautiful thing. And then I like the way this line swoops through and connects into the rest of the composition. So just tying shapes together, similar lines, is a great thing. And then I love the way you isolated some white paper here on your focal point. I think that's a nice touch. Didn't really have any suggestions on this. I thought it worked really good. It's nice and loose. It captures the energy. Some of the yellows on the figure, I'd probably leave those as the more intense areas and maybe glaze down some of these peripheral ones just to enhance that focal point a little bit more. Kind of like you did down in this area here. It's more of a muted yellow. So I would try that. Is as a possible suggestion if you were looking for one. The other thing that I might suggest is you've got nice line work in here. I'm always looking for that calligraphy to finish a painting off. So trying to find a way to get that in the painting. I gotta get rid of this. Oh, remove my spotlight. Sorry. Not sure what I did there, Britt. Are you still seeing?
Sorry, I'm still seeing the painting.
Oh,
And it looks to me like you're spotlighted. Now it's your face.
sorry about that. Let's try this again. There we go.
Okay, that's the painting.
How you're seeing it again? So,
Yep.
looking at this a little bit, there are some nice lines in here. Actually, this is the type of thing that I'm talking about. So, emphasizing things, shadow areas with a dark calligraphic line, gouache over the top like this. That's a nice touch. I love the opaque paint. Great job, Nancy. Is Nancy here? Does she want feedback?
Uh, yeah, I'm here. This is like the never-ending painting. I just kept doing shit. Just like, and then I thought, oh, I mean, like the whole face at one point looked like a clown. And I thought, oh my God. And then it looked like a skeleton. And so I just kept going. And so I didn't know if it was terribly overworked because then I added the confetti. I mean, I was just like, whatever. I
You were
just
having fun
don't
with it.
know.
Yeah.
Because I just wasn't satisfied. And so I kept going and going. I'd never do this much on a painting,
Oh,
ever.
oh, wow.
Usually I'm quitting way, way, way before I've got lines and confetti. I don't know.
Oh,
Seriously.
well, yeah. That's interesting you say that because when I look at the painting, overworked is not a feeling that I get. And I know,
Oh,
trust
okay.
me, I know how to overwork a painting.
Oh,
So,
okay.
no, I think it looks good. It's still fresh. It carries energy. I thought you did a good job.
Okay, thank you.
You bet. All right, Andy, we've got your painting here. I think you had emailed me the reference photo, but there was like a chain link fence in the
Right.
background.
Yeah,
and
right.
some
There was
darker color.
houses. Yeah, this is like a high school boy. I did this for commission, but only in graphite. So now I decided to put it into painting. And I had lost the original reference. So I knew there were fences and houses back there, but I couldn't put them in because I couldn't find it. But now I found the reference and sent it. So yeah, there's stuff behind him. It's a baseball field in a neighborhood high school and stuff. So I just didn't know what to do with the background and those horizontal lines of the dark trees, then the light grass, then the field, the sandy field, they're also horizontal. So it just needs help.
Um, I think this is one that I downloaded too. But I thought you did a great job of capturing the gesture of the figure.
Okay.
So there's a lot of energy in this pose. I think you've nailed that. I really like that you left the sunlight. There's a strong sun light shadow effect happening here. I would probably strengthen that with a darker shadow along the bottom right there. And
All right. Yeah.
you did a nice highlight on the helmet. I would also consider a wedge type shape in the background that was dark. So you could play around with it, whether it would look better going this way or whether the wedge would look better as a higher over here and going down this way. I think both
So what do you mean wedge? I'm not sure what you mean by
like a
that.
long triangle, if you can follow me
Okay.
there.
Yeah.
So it's going to bring a directional line and an energy back towards the viewer or towards the baseball player. And that might enhance that feeling of them swinging the bat. This way would also carry energy going forward, which might look really cool with the baseball bat up there.
Okay.
You can print it out and do some painting over the top, see which looks better, or do some thumbnails. But that would be my suggestion. There are, it's a baseball field. So it's not like you can just put some trees right here coming out of that, but something else to break the plane of all these
Yeah.
horizontals might be nice. And, I'm a big fan of like the Papa Baby Mama approach. So here we got the Papa big shape here, maybe a baby shape over here on this side, and then a mama shape over here vertical. So that's a great way to kind of balance out and have a structure to how you implement elements in a painting.
Would you think like the shape of a tree or something? Because, there wouldn't be people there. There would have to be something natural.
Yeah. Yeah. You could
Yeah.
have a tree trunk coming down, and
Oh,
this
okay.
could be like a darker tree over in this area, overlapping behind the figure a little bit. The trunk would pierce this horizontal, and
Oh,
then maybe maybe tying into this shape up here. You could have another one there. That might be a nice progression from the baseball player back to this, then over here.
okay. I was thinking of putting some batter's box lines around the feet. When I found the reference picture, there were some white kind of scrubby lines around the batter's box.
Yeah.
How about that around the lower part there, around the feet part?
Yeah, I can see the lines you got in here.
Yeah.
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 I would put some masking tape down on both sides and just lift it out because I think you're pretty transparent in this painting. So that's
Yeah.
how I would approach that.
Okay.
I think it would be great. It would be a nice added effect. No issue there whatsoever. I like the way you lost the edge between the sky and the trees back here. It's got good
Mhm.
atmosphere. I like it a lot.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks. Thank you.
You bet. All right, we got Anita. Anita, are you with us?
Yeah.
All right. Anything specifically you're looking for feedback on?
I just sort of struggle more with trying to get water to look right.
To get the water to look right?
I mean, I liked how this ended up. Maybe just a little, I think maybe the far river should have been darker, or not that little part in the center just kind of left me.
I'm sorry. I'm struggling here again.
My picture left.
Yeah, I'm not usually one that struggles with Zoom, but yet here I am. Okay. Yeah. I'm sorry. Say that again, Anita.
Oh, I kind of lost myself there in right, yeah, where your little cursor thing is.
Oh,
I think I got that a little too bright or
yeah.
wrong shade of blue.
I was looking at the reference photo here. One of the things I noticed is so when you're painting water, like a river like this, when you see this darker blue water, it's usually where there's rocks and rapids. So where it's
Mhm.
calmer, we've got these reflections, and then these rapids happen after these rocks right here. They're creating that rapid.
Okay.
So looking back here, I noticed that you kept the whites in here. I would maybe add a few more in here with gouache. And then, yeah, this
Okay.
blue is a little bit on the intense side, so I'd probably glaze it with, a little bit of Payne's gray or some kind of an orange that complements it. And that would
Okay.
be a good way to just kind of knock that down a little bit. Um, I did appreciate your gradation in greens going back. So you got more yellow up front and it's gradually getting cooler as it recedes. Same thing in the trees. Thought that was good. Looking at your reference photo, the sky is a little bit darker and it makes the white on those peaks pop out a little bit more. So I would go a glaze over this sky and make it just a little bit darker to pull out the sunlight on those.
All right. Thanks. Great. Thanks.
Yeah, you bet. Nice job.
Thank
Uh,
you.
Beautiful scene. I like some of the organic textures that you've got in here. Nice dry brush. A lot of good things happening there. So way to go. All right. And this is yours here too, right?
Oh, yes. Right.
All
Yes,
right.
that's mine.
Good job. I noticed when I looked at your painting from the going from the reference photo to the painting, I liked how you left some leaves in front of the trees and negatively painted the dark trunk around them. So I thought that was a good feature. Looking at this again, this path goes from kind of like a mid value up front to very light in the distant area. So if we look at your reference photo compared to the painting, I think you could darken this whole foreground area, like this
Okay. Okay.
bottom third, gradation it up with some water, and that's gonna knock down the value here, and it's gonna make this bright sunlit area pop out.
Okay.
Uh, I would also consider the same thing on the peripheral areas, these outside areas over here, just kind of darkening the painting in that area a little bit, and that's going to further bring out that sunlight and give it like a sense of sunlight coming through the forest, that light at the end of the tunnel effect. I think it would look really good.
So not just the trees, but all that greenery behind on the side there too. Darken
More,
that. Oh,
yeah, more of the greenery. I think the
okay.
trees are dark enough the way they are,
Okay.
but yeah, that's where I would go with it.
Okay. Great. Thank you very much.
Yeah, that's a nice job too. Beautiful painting. I like the gradation you do have from darker to lighter. I think you've got the gist of it. Those would be just the things that I would do to kind of enhance it. And looking at your lines too, you've got some nice fine lines in here. I would take a scrap sheet of paper out and I would practice my calligraphy with a liner brush, like a rigger brush. And there's some beautiful organic lines coming into the scene that you can do with a gestural brushstroke that really enhance and give energy because you've got a great like fluid wash over this whole painting. And I think some of those gestural fine lines, kind of like what you're starting to do in here, would really finish it off wonderfully.
Okay. I get a little nervous doing that. I used to do a lot of illustration, botanical illustrations. So when I start getting into too many calligraphy kinds of things, I sometimes go overboard.
All right.
So I'm struggling with, how to not go overboard, but to
Oh,
put in just enough.
yeah. Something you can do. I don't know how your hand is for drawing, but drawing them in first, then just kind of going over them with the rigger can be a nice way to manage
Okay.
that, go at a little slower pace. Nice job. I like the
Okay.
texture on the trunks and everything. So good job, Anita.
All right. Thank you very much.
Bet. All right. And here we've got Lori.
Hi, I'm here.
Hey, Lori. Nice
Hello.
job on the painting. I'll scroll to the reference photo here and then come back. Anything specific you were looking for feedback on?
Well, I was having trouble with the background, making it looks like a wash of just a riot of colors instead of individual trees. And so I was having some difficulty with that, I think, the most.
Okay. I like the way you brought out the sunlight in the scene. I was looking at the reference photo and it's mainly in shadow back here.
Yeah.
But there is strong sunlight in this. Um, so I like the way you kind of brought out the light and the intensity. What I might consider doing is from the base of these trees up towards the top. It's a tool I use all the time. It's just a gradation. And so going from darker at the bottom to lighter at the top.
Mm.
And so, and you kind of have it happening in here, but just a glaze over this background, a thin layer of paint, maybe 2 value steps darker. And you can paint around this tree, just darkening this background a little bit and then gradationing it up. If you wanted to paint around this orange tree, you could to make that pop out more. But in general, a gradation is a beautiful thing to add to any scene. And it just works wonders. You've done it here from the base of this tree up to the top of it. Look at the gradation from darker up to lighter there. It's a beautiful element. So right here at the top of this tree, I would darken the background to make the sunlight pop out on this even more.
Got it.
Reference photo, you can see it's kind of.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
So can you help me then with, so I was trying to make the background dark green, like along the wall there on the other side of the water.
Yep.
I just couldn't, no matter how much paint I was adding, I just couldn't get it darker. It just seemed to be more green, but not more dark. And I was hesitant to add black. I wasn't sure how to get it darker.
I would use a ultramarine blue, maybe a hint of violet to it.
Okay.
Yep, and that'll feel cooler
Uh-huh.
and recede and make these warmer
Okay.
colors come forward.
Got it.
Yep, and that violet in it will be a nice shadow color for these warm fall colors.
Okay.
Um,
Wonderful.
yeah, and then I would just pick a light source direction and then cast shadows. So I don't know that it's real clear in your painting which way the light is coming from. I looked at
It was a pretty cloudy day, yeah, and I was having trouble like even finding any place to put or maintain white other than the railing and the sidewalk and water.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you did a great job bringing out a sense of light in the painting. So 2 things, I would do that same gradation on the path from a little darker at the base to a little bit lighter towards the focal point. And then, and that would be easy to do here.
Yeah.
Just tone this down, make it lighter towards the focal point. Then I would just pick a direction that your sun's coming from. I think any way would work. In this scene, I would bring it in from the left-hand side. And so I would, well, I guess now here I see that you've got sunlight on the right.
Yeah, on that tree, there was light on the right side of that tree that I was trying to portray.
Okay, that's fine. You could still change it just by darkening this side of the tree.
Yep.
But
Yep.
I would cast a shadow from the left going to the right here, and then maybe across the path. That's going to be much easier. I would also shadow the right side of the figure and cast a shadow going this way. That way you don't have to do all of the shadows from this railing coming across.
Right.
So that's just the laziness inside me. I would much prefer to do it that way. And I don't think it makes a big difference in the overall scene. So those would be ideas that I would play around with.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome. And then you got another painting here too, right? Or is that
No, I don't.
That's a different artist, sorry.
Yeah.
So we've got Jane here. Jane, are you with us? Jane's got 2, that's what it is. So Jane's got 2 reference photos, I believe, and 2 paintings. So I like the way you modified this one. So let's go with this painting here. This is a picture of Tending Monet's water lilies. I like this scene. You did a great job rendering this. Look, there's the reference photo. So you definitely focused in on the kind of the key of the painting. Another overcast day, but there is a little bit of a brighter light on that. I thought that turned out really good. And oh, Jane, you're there. Jane, did you have any? You're muted, Jane.
Oh, sorry.
There you
Dear.
go.
I thought I had it on. Mhm.
There you go. Nice
Okay,
picture. I like the subject selection. I think that's great.
thank you.
And the painting turned out nice too.
Thank you.
That's a complicated subject matter. That's a lot to paint there.
Yeah, it kind of was. And I was worried that I had bitten off too much, but it was sort of fun just playing with I don't know, brush strokes and shapes and stuff and the green. There's just a lot of green. So,
Well, you gave it good variety. I
yeah.
like how you picked up on the cool back here in the background lily pads. Um,
Hmm.
so I thought you did a good job with it. It is a busy scene. That's
Yeah.
there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, wonderful job back here. Look at how abstract that is. I mean, if you look up Sargent's watercolors and look at the just the crazy abstract, like his painting of gourds, if you look at the background in that, it's just
Yeah.
amazing, beautiful brushwork. And I think you've got that same feeling here with clean application of paint, abstract shapes. The background recedes, these foreground elements come forward. I just think that's a nice bit of painting back here. This is really beautiful.
Oh,
And when you
thank you.
look at different areas in the painting, you see that same type of thing happening. So looking back here too, this is energetic, clean, gestural brushwork. That's really nice. See the same thing happening in this area. Nice, beautiful melting. I am of the positive shape into the background. Here, excuse me 1 second. Let's head back in, sweetheart.
Where did you take this photo, Jane?
So this was in Giverny. We went to Monet's garden there, and these guys were just cleaning out old water lilies. And I thought, oh my gosh, how symbolic is that? Like freshwater lilies and old ones. So fresh artists and old artists like Monet. And
Mhm.
I don't know. I just appreciated so much what they were doing.
Mhm.
Um and they were just like scooting around the pond all day, just pulling out old water lilies. And I just wanted to paint them doing that.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
did a nice job on the rendering of the figures too, on the face, the light and shadow. These gestural brushstrokes again describing the form. Overall, it's just great, nice job. Looking
thank
at the reference photo, I think the water is a bit darker and the lily pads
yeah.
are a little bit more horizontal in nature. Even the ones that are up front, you can see they really follow a pretty horizontal line.
Yeah.
Um, so if we look back at, sorry, if we look back at your painting here, you can see it's a little bit more of rounded shapes, more at a diagonal. I think
Mm-hmm.
keeping those super flat and then darkening the water.
Uh-huh.
If we go back to the reference photo, that there are horizontals in the water, but there's also a sense of that reflection falling vertically. And it's that
Yes.
contrast between the vertical water and that horizontal lily pad that's really
Oh,
effective.
oh, sure. Yeah,
I
that's a
would I
good.
would emphasize that even if it's not happening or if you don't see it, whenever I paint water, I'm always playing up that contrast of direction. So
Right. That
darkening
makes
that water, emphasizing the vertical, horizontal, it's a great way just to kind of clean it up a little bit.
sure. Thank you. I
Yeah,
appreciate that. Yeah,
nice job. And
good.
this is your painting from this reference photo. Do I have that right?
Um, yeah, that one is the reference. That's my husband Lyle modeling for me. I thought I want to do this fish house up in the Boundary Waters and I want to show Lyle getting our canoe out, but I didn't have a photo of it. So I thought I'm going to just stick them in there somehow.
Yeah, I thought it looked good. It feels natural. I like the way you connected it to the ground with the shadow. I think that's a nice touch. And that seems to match the lighting that's on the building too.
Mhm.
I think looking at the water, that might be a little bit bright of a blue,
Yeah,
given that the sky is not that blue. So I'd either
right.
tone this down or
Yeah.
put more blue in the sky. I think that would help. Um,
Yep.
and then with how strong the lighting is on the building and the figure in the canoe, I'd probably put these birch trees in more of a shadow color. So
Okay.
something, a little bit bluer, but as dark as that.
Oh,
And
okay.
if you want to leave white on the left-hand side to show sunlight, I think that would be a nice touch too. But yeah, that's my suggestion. Then if the sunlight's is it coming from above? Might be more
Yeah.
overhead light. But the figure might be casting a bigger shadow.
Oh, okay. Yep, yep. Oh, sure. Right. And him
Okay.
having not been in the photo, except for like right there. And it was a
Yep.
whole different day.
Yep. Yep.
So,
That's something when I'm put to piece together multiple photos, that's the first thing I'm looking at is where's the light coming from in each of them? Does it align? And can I flip it so that it does
oh,
align?
right.
So
Yeah, I need to think that through.
yeah, but nice job. It's a cool painting. It's got fun energy. Definitely captures that feeling of Boundary Waters, and it's a great job.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, and this is I'm not going to be able to pronounce this name. Can somebody help me on that?
Zenobia.
Zenobia?
Yep.
Zenobia.
Yeah,
Zenobia here?
Z for short.
Oh, Z. All right, Z. That's much easier. Hey, I love this reference photo. This is super cool. Like dramatic lighting, dramatic subject, got that deep sky. The sunlight just pops off of this. This is gorgeous. And I like the way you painted the picture too. Two things I think very easy to do. I wonder I wanna I wanna download this one and do a little painting on it. I think this would be uh pretty cool to show. So I stop my share. Z, just give me a second here and I'll pull this up in Photoshop and show you what I do because I think you've got a fantastic setup here and it would be great to do just a little bit of work on. So I'll share my screen here, got Photoshop. So one of the things I noticed is that the sky can be much darker. So I would take, we could do the burn tool. That might work. Get this much bigger. Just pull the exposure up a little bit. So we're going to darken this, and what you're going to see is the sunlight pops out on that ship. There we go. That was a little bit too much. That looks nice. And then I'm going to bring in a little bit of blue into your shadows too. If you look back at that reference photo, there's a fair amount of blue in the shadows and also in that sky. So pull this back a little bit more blue. And then we'll go much larger, not that big, not that small, something like this. Bring this way down. Let's just bring some of that blue into the sky too. When we get that darker, you're going to see the sunlight pop out really well on that ship. Oh, burn. A little bigger, a little bigger. There we go.
Oh, yeah, look at that.
Yeah, I see it. Yeah.
All right. Let me stop the share here. I'll bring it back into the folder so we can all see it. All right, right into here. There we go. Share this back so everybody can see it. Come on, Zoom. Here we are. Nope, wrong share. Man, I'm struggling tonight. Zoom entries. There we go. Okay, so we got a reference photo. Oh, the sky is more gray in this. I remembered it wrong, but you can see the blue in the shadows here, especially in this area. How
Yep.
cool.
Yes, yeah.
Yep. And so now we'll go back to the reference photo. There's the doctored up one that I did, and here's your original.
Right.
So deepening that sky, adding a little cool to it, it kind of captures the flavor and the energy of this a little bit more.
Yep.
So
Yep,
those
I
would
see
be
it.
some suggestions that I'd have. Was there anything that you were wondering about in particular, Z?
No, not really. No, I've never done this before, so I mean, I've never had anybody critique my work, so I don't know what to ask for.
Oh, okay. Is there anything? I love that you put the figures in there. You definitely keyed in on the light and shadow on the scene, so I thought that was really good. Um, Looking at the reference, there are some, like the top of this iceberg is toned a little bit more. It really shows off the brightness of the face that's coming at us. Same thing here. So those would be things that I would maybe pop out even a little bit more. Like this could go a little bit darker, and that would help the sunlight pop out even more. But yeah, those were the two big things that I noticed, a darker sky and a little bit more blue in those shadows.
Okay, all right, good.
Nice job. That's a
Thank you.
cool subject. I love that.
Yeah,
And you've got another one here.
yes.
So here's your reference photo. Another great subject selection. Great light and shadow, strong focal point, beautiful rhythmic lines to it. Love the light on the rocks back there. It's a good scene selection. You got a good eye. Looking at the photo or the painting, I thought this turned out nice. You got a good rendering of the boat. I like the way that you lost the back edge of the boat into the water. I thought that was a nice touch. I think here again, just getting that value dark enough on the background to make the sunlight pop out. It's hard to do in watercolor. We're all tentative to kind of go that dark. It doesn't always feel right. To get the contrast that we need, a lot of times we do have to go darker. I think you can kind of see it now looking at the scene.
Yes.
Yeah. So that would be my suggestion on there is just darkening that background, making
Okay.
this boat pop out even more. There's a lot of this light to mid-value gray in the painting, and I think just breaking it up so that we got a darker background and that boat pops out would be a nice touch.
Okay. Sounds awesome. That
All
sounds
right.
great because yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, because when you look at the photo, you can definitely see that it's darker in the background.
Yeah, for sure, for
Yeah.
sure. Yep.
Okay.
And it's the nice thing is you still have time and are able to darken it in this painting. Or what I love to do is just do a new painting. I'm a big fan of that. I oftentimes with my teaching will paint a picture two or three times and they don't always get better from time to time, but
Yeah.
they're different. And there's what I love to do is look at all three and just see what works in all of them, and then I try to carry that forward in the next painting. So
Yeah. Yeah, these the paintings that you've seen, those are like the third renditions. So yes, I've been doing it. I can
all
do it in my
right.
sleep. I can do it in my sleep.
Yeah, that is kind of fun, isn't it? After you've done it a
It
couple times,
is. It's like you know where everything is.
you don't have to look at the reference to draw it or to paint it. You're like, you know what to do already. It's yeah, that is kind of funny.
Yeah. But yeah,
Well,
good. Thanks, Dan.
yeah, you're welcome. Nice job.
Thank you.
And we've got Michelle here. Michelle, looks like you've got I don't know if you had a reference photo for that or not. I think it
Not
was
for the landscape one, yeah.
okay.
That was basically an intuitive landscape.
Nice.
What I was trying to work on a bit was values in the landscape, light in the landscape, but also thinking about emotion and mood. And I was thinking about how a gray landscape feels versus a colored landscape. So those are all the things kind of going through my mind as well as creating texture when you just have a monochromatic painting and having the texture really show up. And so those are things. So the main thing I'm wondering about is, the values, the light, the shadows, and the mood. What kind of mood do you see as you see that painting? What kind of feeling does it portray? For me, I think it feels, when I look at the painting, where I look at a landscape that normally is of color, this is gray. To me, it feels like a gray mood, but it may not be the case for everybody. So I thought that'd be fun to get your opinion on that too.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, it's a beautiful painting. Just,
Thank you.
as far as the mood that I feel like um, when I look at this piece, I would say, um, I mean, it's calming. I think it's optimistic. I think like the landscape is fairly dark, feeling, and then there's a great sense of light up above. I think it's really emphasized with this blossom that happens right here. So when I look at it, it feels like hopeful.
Okay.
That's the sense that I get when I look at it. There is
Mhm.
just an incredible array of texture. I think that's a good thing to take away from this painting, and maybe something that we could all learn from is by doing this in black and white, it really does allow you to focus on other things, right? So I coach hockey. We do this all the time. We can't play scrimmage and hockey practice all the time. We have to break out one skill and really focus on that skill and try and master it. I think this is a excellent example of isolating what we're working with so that we can focus on another thing. So when I look at this painting, what I think as far as a element that you were able to focus on, it's texture. I think there's an incredible variety of texture. I highlighted the blossom. I see the salt. I see the gradations that are happening in the scene. I love the puddling and the rough texture up in this tree, this rhythmic line work that you've got happening. So I think this is a very fruitful exercise. I think it's a beautiful painting in its own right. And I think it was a huge success. So nice job.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah. And
And
then,
then, yeah, this is a still life done without a still life box and with a variety of lighting sources. But I just felt like painting it one day. And so part of my, again, conversation around light. And I'm wondering if it looks stiff. I have a tendency to go less loose sometimes, and which feels fine to me, but then I often get feedback that it feels stiff to the viewers. So I was curious about that too.
yeah, I mean, I don't know that I felt that way when I looked at it, but I can understand the feedback and that makes sense. Um, I think your biggest asset for loosening up is going to be to focus on texture. The texture is what happens at the edge of a value shape. So if we look at the reference again here, I look for areas that can connect. So I'm looking at, let's see here. See this shadow right here on the back side of this? I would carry this over and connect it into that dark shape of the pot. This can connect probably right here and wrap around and in. And then I'm looking at what's my focal point. So do you have a specific part of this that you would say is your focal point?
Well, originally, I think the focal point kind of evolved, but originally I was thinking that with that pumpkin in the center and the way that stem kind of points to the pot, is that somewhere in there felt like a focal point when I started the painting.
Yeah.
But then with the textures showing up in other places, I thought, I'm not sure if that's making the eye wander around the painting or if it's changing the focal point.
Okay. Well, so if we focus on, I think this is a great area for a focal point because you've got strong sunlight, shadow, you've got a dark value, a light value, and a color accent with the pumpkin. So I think that's a natural setup for a focal point right there. So then I would use texture to soften out and fuzz out the what I call the peripheral area. So like right here, this whole edge could be a soft edge instead of being a hard edge.
Okay.
You did a nice job of connecting the shadow between this pumpkin and the background, but I think it doesn't need to be defined right there. That can be a soft edge where it
Okay.
blends together and fades into the background. And by doing that, when you use soft texture, it naturally feels looser. It's when you have a ton of hard-edged small shapes that are descriptive is where it feels tighter. So like this doesn't need all of those lines in it. It just needs this larger mid-value green shape.
Mhm.
And that can
Okay.
all be one larger connected shape. And on the outsides, it can fuzz into the background. So I would think about how I can use texture to combine and let areas merge together. And how can I paint objects simpler with just a one value. This would be just the mid value, doesn't need all that detail if this is the focal point.
Okay.
That's how I would think about it. Doesn't mean
Yep.
it's right or wrong, but that's a good way to loosen up is to embrace the soft textures like what you've done here. If you had a reference photo to look at this, I guarantee you this would be a defined edge. There would be a ton of detail back in this background horizon area. This tree would separate cleanly from that background. But that's the magic of this piece is you have all these lost edges. You have that illusion. You've got the soft texture that evokes the imagination. So spelling everything out, that's like what they say in encyclopedia. But when you have it illusionistic like this and open interpretation, that's like poetry, so it's an abbreviated artistic version.
Wonderful. Thank you. That helps a lot. That clarifies a lot for me. Thanks.
Good. Nice job.
Yeah.
All right. So
Dan,
we've got, yep.
Dan, I just want to draw your attention to the time. It's 8 o'clock, just to give you a heads up.
And how are we doing on paintings? 1, 2, 3, 4. I think we're okay. We're about halfway here, so I need to pick up the pace a little bit. I think we're doing pretty good though. So Christine, are you with us?
Yes, hi, I'm
All
here.
right. This is a cool photo. I like this.
Yeah, thanks. I did too.
And you did a nice painting of it. What were you looking for feedback?
Handling the black, that
Oh,
surface. It's a little burnt out in the photo compared to what it looks like sitting next to me, but black
gotcha.
is kind of tricky and getting the reflections but subtle was kind of a challenge.
Sure. Looks like a glossy surface of some sort.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the Guthrie downtown, if you're familiar with that.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Okay. So I would say softer texture as far as a gradation is going to describe a slick surface a little bit better. So these are
Okay.
fuzzy edge shapes. I think if we go back to your photo, they get a little bit harder
Looks
edge
very
with rough
blotchy.
texture. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So that would be, if you can wet this whole area and, drop the color in a way that it just melts together. No matter where it's dark or where it's lighter, it's going to have a good effect. I know there's a sheen through the middle here, so probably darker at the top, lighter in the middle, and then back to darker. I think that soft texture would really help out a lot.
Okay.
And then whenever I'm painting really dark darks, what I try to do is, so I don't end up with like a dead black area, is I try to push it warm or push it cool. So I can tell, you've got some cobalt or ultramarine in here.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a big fan of Windsor orange. It neutralizes ultramarine blue really well. Makes a nice, beautiful neutral color. And you can push it cooler by adding more ultramarine or warmer by adding more Windsor orange. So I use that a lot of times for my darks because I can shift it warm or cool very easily, very quickly. So, but even in this case, you can just glaze over with a cooler, a warm color, and it'll help give it a little variety.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you.
This is a nice job. That's a complicated painting with the plaid on the shirt. This like a still life. There's a warped city
Yeah.
scene in the background. You got a slick surface and then a portrait on top of it. That's a lot to paint.
Like you were talking about before, I did it a couple of times to get closer each time, hopefully.
Yeah. Oh, it's a nice job. I was looking at the rendering of the food box here, and the background looks really nice. I was looking at the photos, a little fuzzier, grayer, lighter here, but
Hmm. Yeah.
looking at that and looking at your rendition of it, I like your painting much better.
Oh, good. Thank
Yeah,
you.
and it
Yeah.
reads really clear. It's super accurate. You did a nice job.
Thanks.
That. And then okay, this is a new artist. This is Marilyn here. Marilyn, nice job on the painting. Looks like you took a black and white photo and changed it to color. Are you here, Marilyn? I can keep talking about it though, but I mean, this is a very accurate painting. Like, it's tough to get that level of accuracy and still have it feel loose. I think I really like the sparkle of light that you've kept on the figure here, the focus on light and shadow. Um, the gesture, the communication here is wonderful. I think the dog looks great. There are some areas, if you look at the reference photo, where you could push some of the darks a little bit heavier to help things get defined, but I don't see any problem with the painting itself. I think it looks really good. Great light and shadow, great energy, great story. I love it. The only thing I thought that I might do if it were mine is take the greens that you've got in the background and neutralize them a little bit, just so they aren't as intense as the warm colors on the figure. That would be something that I would consider doing. Any kind of like a gray violet similar to this would be what I would choose for a color and just knock it down. Creating a horizontal shape back there to make the vertical figures pop out might be another nice thing to add to that. But great job overall. I think it's a beautiful scene. All right, and now we've got Nanette.
Hi, I'm here.
Hey, nice job.
Really? Thank you. My daughter took this photograph.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought you did a good job because you've got two here, right? No, no,
No, I
just one.
didn't know we could do two. I would have sent another one next time.
Okay, okay.
Sorry you're hearing our puppy in the background.
That's all right. I thought you did a good job capturing the gist of the scene. There are only two suggestions that I have looking at the painting versus the photograph. So
Yes, that's what I need to hear.
great. So looking at the photograph, these background colors here are much cooler and lighter
Oh,
than these foreground areas. So if we toggle back to your photograph, you're
oh,
still in
you're
the
right.
warm tones here.
Yes, and
And so if you have Payne's gray on your palette,
yes, of
you
course.
take Payne's gray with just a hint of cobalt blue in it. It's a beautiful atmospheric background color. Um,
Oh,
looking at your photograph here, Payne's gray will work for this with a little cobalt blue, maybe a hint of a violet in that, but it's
mhm.
very light. In fact, when I'm squinting my eyes looking at this box here, there's very little value contrast between this bluff and the sky. So it's a
Yeah,
very, very light value. So and you could lift this up and glaze
okay,
that cool color in there, and I think
okay,
that would enhance the depth in the scene.
okay.
The other thing that I noticed is the bottoms of your trees are flat. And if you
Oh,
look at the reference photo, they're angled down, and that
oh,
helps
yes.
describe the terrain that we're looking at.
Okay,
So,
I can fix that. I can
yep,
angle them down.
piece of cake. You can look at your painting. You can just lift up here at an angle at the bottom of those, and it'll
Mhm.
help just kind of point that down and create that. It also create a nice movement here and back into the distance. So
Mhm.
those would be two things that I would change, but overall, I thought you really captured it well.
I think I had just taken a class on mixing greens. Thank you so much. So I was really focused on getting the greens, right. But the thing of it is did I make them too dark next to the rock on the
Um,
left-hand side?
maybe. So there is a light and shadow on these trees. It looks like the light's coming from the right. It's a little more shadowed
Okay.
on the left, so that could be an
Okay.
adjustment. Also, I always think about, even if I don't see it in the photo or reference, I know from painting plein air a lot that darks are going to scale up and get lighter as they go back. So the difference between this dark right here
Oh, yeah.
and
Yep.
this dark right here is significant. This is almost a mid value, and this
Hmm.
is dark value. So
Wow. You're right. You're right.
so looking at your ref or your painting here, this
They're
is
all the
fine
same.
for a dark value, but over here that can go more towards a mid value.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And you're also going to pick up more blue, more atmosphere. These are fine the way they are as far
Okay.
as value because they're still closer. But yep, just thinking about stepping that back. As far, especially for a vista type of scene
Yep.
like this, where that depth is really important, that's
Mm-hmm.
that's something that I always try to focus on.
Wow. Well, thank you. It's so hard to think of all these things, and I'm gonna do it again.
Yeah, I agree. I would do it again because this is a beautiful scene. There's nothing wrong with this. I would take that feedback and I would do it again because it's a fairly, simple scene to sketch out and just paint again. So I would love to see that if you do it again. It's a
Well,
beautiful, beautiful
thank you,
shot.
Dan.
Yeah,
Thank you.
you're welcome. All right. And okay, so I think, is it Yang He? You've got two paintings here. So we've got
Young
this
He is on.
Yang He.
Yep.
Are you there?
Looks to be on, maybe not
Yeah,
speaking. Oh,
I
okay.
am.
There. All right.
Yeah.
All
Okay.
right. Cool. Was there anything in particular you were looking for feedback on this scene?
Oh, that painting.
Yeah.
Okay. You see the deck and then walkway, right? You see
Yep.
the trail and then, okay. So that was giving me a hard time how to paint.
Sure. Okay. So if we analyze what's going on here with this deck area in the path, I
Yeah,
think, yep, I think I look at the front of this right
yeah,
here, and I see that that's a little bit lighter, and then there's
right.
pretty heavy, clear, dark shadow underneath.
Shed, right,
And you see the same thing here going backwards towards the shore. So,
right.
and if I remember right from your painting, that
Yeah,
is not in there as much.
right. I tried to give a little bit darker, but I didn't. I mean, it's up to the point you do it, and then I'm done.
Yeah.
That's what happened.
Well, I think looking at this here, I think you can go darker. And then if you
Darker.
look back at that reference photo, there's a lot of vertical pillars on the dock itself. And then
Right,
those get reflected down in the water. And so,
right.
thinking back to that Monet's pond painting, tending Monet's lilies, and
Yeah,
the reflections a lot of
yeah,
have a vertical nature to them. You can see it right here. So the
right,
tree is more horizontal and angular. In the reflection, it really falls down vertically. So if you look back at these pillars, you got the vertical pillars that come straight down, and there's no vertical nature to this dark shadow area. That's what separates it and kind of clarifies that feeling of water. So I would play that up a little bit. Um, and you think you could still do it on this painting? There's no reason why you couldn't just add that to it and crispen it up a little bit. Because looking at the values and the color intensities from the reference photo, I thought you nailed it. I mean, I could tell before I even found the reference photo what you were painting and what it was supposed to look like. The colors in the sky, you really got those like perfect. I thought that was a like a sensitive eye to color that you have.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. And then looking at your other scene here, this is another fun, lively scene. You got a concert in the park,
Yeah.
bunch of figures. I like that. Busy scene, lots of line work, lots of stuff happening in the background. Uh, Tough scene to paint for sure. Um,
I had fun.
you had fun?
Yeah.
That's great. I think it turned out great. I love the drums back here, the lady singing. You got light and shadow on that. The background reads clear. The only thing I saw that I would maybe change is this how pronounced the curve is on this stage here. That to me
Yeah,
stood out.
go ahead.
It's pretty flat in here. I know there's a little bit of a curve, but it's pretty flat. And so that would be something that I would take the time to just lift this out over here and try to flatten that line out a little bit. Because
Oh,
otherwise it gives you this sensation that you're really looking down at the stage. And I think it's more of a looking straight on type of scene. So that's the correction
okay.
I would make there.
Okay. The flatten the front side of the curve would make the stage look better because here's the stage is the upstage. They and then there's this lower line is the flat uh floor.
Yeah.
That's what, yeah.
Yep.
So if I change that curve to the more flat, then
Yep.
it would look more comfortable. Right now, it's like uh,
Yeah, yeah, it feels a little bit off, like not
uh,
bad, but it feels a little
uh-huh,
because it's not symmetrical and it's a little bit too curved, so I think
yeah,
it's a little funny.
uh-huh,
The other thing I noticed too is like there are these cracks that are in the concrete, and you
right,
that to help describe the change in direction of the concrete.
uh-huh,
Comes this way and then falls straight down. Um,
okay,
Something once you correct the flatness of it, you could add that calligraphy over the top to kind of
Papa,
help describe
mm-hmm.
what's going on. So whenever I do any lifting, I try to add something afterwards to distract the eye from the lift mark.
Oh, I see. Okay, that's a good suggestion.
Yeah,
Okay,
nice job.
thank, thank you.
You're welcome. And this is Trish. Is Trish with us?
Yes, I am. Hi, Dan.
Hey, Trish, nice job.
Thank you.
I thought this turned out really good. Love the soft texture in the sky, that muted, less intense color with the vibrant foreground. Nice job rendering of the tractors and the corn field. That can be tricky to paint that. I thought you captured it really well with the dark at the bottom, light at the top, just some vertical lines there. So I thought it turned out really good.
Okay, thank you.
Anything you were looking for
Well,
feedback?
the wide open field with, how do you make that look natural and not so repetitive and static? The yellow part I'm referring to.
Yep. The main thing that I do in foregrounds is a gradation. So I'd go darker at the bottom and then gradually go up to this color.
Oh,
It can be brown, it can be green, probably something in between like a darker orange burnt sienna. And it's just you pre-wet this whole area right here,
hmm.
pre-wet it with a big soft brush, and then you're just going darker at the bottom, gradually running out of paint as you go up to the top. Um,
Got it.
then what I like to do is once that sets up, so when it goes from a glossy sheen down to like a matte or a satin sheen, then I take juicy paint, like I love Naples yellow because it's kind of opaque, and then I melt that in these organic, natural kind of little miniature blossoms. It's a Joseph's Bookfitch technique, right?
Mm,
You add these watercolor blossoms to the foreground. It creates an atmosphere and a organic nature, especially to like a field. And you don't have to paint anything. It's just a suggestion of stuff, and it works beautifully. Do it all the time. Highly recommend it to students. But the gradation and then those micro blossoms it's a great way to handle that.
great.
And if you
Thank you.
Google
What?
Joseph's Bookfitch, all the images will pop up. You'll see right away what I'm talking about.
What?
How do you spell that last name?
ZBUC VIC, I think.
All right, we'll find it.
Yeah. Hey, yeah, I just start typing Joseph Z and it'll pop up.
I think it's a K in the middle.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Martin Owings, you got a beautiful scene here. I like this subject matter, of course. Got the North Shore here. Are you with us, Martin? Okay, that's all right. One of the things I liked when I looked at this was the light value on the water, how it blends, and there's a lost edge that connects to the sunlight on the rocks itself. So I think it's good value management. Looking at this area right here, we've got nice dark darks in the recesses of the rocks, mid value on the shadow area, and then highlight on the top. Thought it was well rendered. I think you did a good job there. I also like the gradation from kind of a darker blue out to a lighter blue in the middle. Good trees, good atmospheric perspective, going from more yellow, stepping it back to a cooler gray in the background. So great composition. This leads the eye wonderfully here. Maybe a figure or two on the rocks might finish it off and complete it with a focal point, but doesn't need anything. It looks really good. I like it. Another one here by Martin. So I was, let's see if I can move this up so I can see a little better. I was appreciating the horizontal background with the verticals in front. Just looking at it from a composition standpoint, I mean, it's beautiful and complete the way it is. I'm always trying to find a focal point. So I like the way this horizontal branch contrasts with this vertical birch tree there. So I might take that area and amp up the contrast a little bit. Maybe it's a little warmer, more intense color in the background. Maybe you take like a light gray or blue gray, kind of like this background, and just glaze over these peripheral trees so that this one has the brightest contrast on it. That might be something to think about and consider, but great shape making in this background. Look at these beautiful shapes with incidents at the edges. Nice structure to the painting with the verticals and the horizontals. I thought it was a nice piece. I think one last thought would be on the shadows of the trees. Trying to get a little bit of color in that versus just using like a neutral tint or a Payne's gray. So a lot of times there'll be a color gradation and a color bounce with these warm fall colors. On the far edge of the tree, you're going to see a little bit of a reflected warm light from those fall colors. And it can be a beautiful way to paint birch trees. Even if you don't see it, it's a nice effect. So it goes from bright white to shadow to reflected light. And that can add a lot of interest to a scene like this. So, but nice job weaving in and out of that highlight shape. It's not just a clean line. Again, those incidents at the edges, it goes in and out, in and out. That's a nice touch. All right. Got Mary Parker. Mary, you're here.
I'm here.
You got a nice painting here. This was a lot of work.
Yes.
Kind of a neat scene. I was envious of this. This is really cool. The kind of fluorescent lighting on it, the warm lighting, the cool shadows. Love the decoration on top. Just the whole scene looked really fun to paint. I can see why you chose it. Looks good. What were your things you were curious about for critique feedback?
I was debating on putting the car in there, and I was wondering if I should just focus on just a couple and the manager there. But then again, I had rented an Airbnb when I was in Paris a couple years ago, and this was a cafe that was right on the corner, and it's kind of like cool and there was this couple just having a glass of wine and talking to the manager, and it's just like kind of like, a street scene. I don't know, I was just trying to capture that ambiance of, Parisian corner.
I love it. I love it. when I looked at the reference photo, there was one thing I saw is that the background is a little bit darker, and that makes these light values in here pop out more. So looking at the scene here, you can see these values are pretty similar to that background. I would just glaze this with like a cool, maybe blue green, and I'd even go over the car. You can kind of see it in there now, that blue. And if you glaze this down a little bit, it's going to make those values and the brightness on the cafe pop out more. So that was the only thing I could think of. I thought you did a good job capturing
Thank
the
you.
scene and rendering it really well.
Hey, and the car and the garbage cans, do you think that is fine there? I mean, it's like how life was.
That's how I paint it. That's how I paint it. The garbage bins are the focal point of some of my paintings. It is. It's how life is. I think that's when you translate it into watercolor, it becomes charming. So I like it.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, Paula.
Yes, I'm here.
Hey, Paula, nice job on this.
Thank you.
Good bit of negative painting around the stems on the lily pads. Nice white here on the lily. Good placement for that. I thought you did a nice job.
Thank you very much.
What were you looking for feedback?
Anything you see is what I'm interested in, is to get a different viewpoint. This was plein air on White Bear Lake.
Oh, wow. Nice job.
Thanks.
Yeah, plein air's tricky. I think you handled it really well. I like the gradation to cool in the water because that's what happens when you're looking down and also out at the bottom. See the blue sky reflected back here. Here you're able to see down into the bottom of the lake. So I thought you did a nice job capturing that. Yeah, these white, or not white, but these lighter stems, I would consider glazing them down a little bit, so they're not quite as contrasting. So like this area here where that stem ends, I would melt that into the background and then gradation it up to lighter. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Yep, and then on the lily, maybe some glazing on these outside areas of the petals, try and keep the viewers focused on the inside of the painting. Those would be a couple things I would try, but overall, I thought you captured it well, so good job.
Great, thanks.
Dan, your voice is getting kind of echoey.
I don't think it's me. Is it me?
Okay.
I think it's just
Is it Paula's audio?
Yeah,
Paula,
I think so.
you go on mute.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
We got Vicky here. Is
Yeah,
Vicky with us?
Yeah.
Hey, Vicky. Nice job.
How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. We got a marathon feedback session here. This is great.
Yeah, I'm loving it too.
Good. This is incredible. I love this.
Thanks.
Nice job. Look at the detail in here, but you put the paint down with fresh, like fresh, wet watercolor. It melts. It still looks fresh when it's dried. This is great stuff. Nice detail. This is wonderful. What were you looking for feedback?
I think there's something wrong with the composition, and maybe it's the color palette being too limited and the way everything has the same density, if you will. There's no foreground, middle ground, background kind of thing.
Okay.
At the top, I'm not sure those leaves should stop before the edge. Maybe I should have let them bleed over the edge.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you could speak to some of those things.
Okay. Yeah, I would look at, so you've got nice light values throughout the whole composition. I would look at trying to create a path for the viewer's eye to follow throughout the scene.
Yeah.
So, we've got a spot of light, this is light, this is light, and you can bounce from those from one to the next, but I would consider like looking at the angles of the shape. So like I tend to follow this down and then this shape over, and then this one kind of weaves back this way, maybe down to this one, and then up and over. So I'd take a look at that path, and I'd try to either emphasize it by lifting highlights so that the viewer can flow, or emphasizing it with dark values somehow to make that path connection because it is spotty. There's a very much the effect of a foreground background and not a lot of merging of those two. So softening edges, an edge like this right here, you can lose that edge. This can be a dark that just bleeds into the background, and that helps create a path for the eye to flow from background to a foreground positive object. And when you have those paths, it's easier for the viewer to kind of move around. So I would consider that as a suggestion, and then possibly glazing down some of these peripheral areas that are leading down and off of the painting, just to keep that viewer's eye in focus. So looking at the edge of these leaves, I'm sure it was that way, but I would also try to glaze those white bits down so that it's not quite, so it's not enhancing that feeling of being cut out. Same here with this. Try to lose those edge, keep it a soft edge, and I think that would help a little bit. We got another one right here. Those are things to help create flow throughout the painting and also to kind of organize the viewer's eye movement.
Okay, great.
Yeah, nice job. That's a cool piece.
Thank you.
All right, we got another one here. Vicky, this is yours as well.
Yeah. So I was wondering on this one if it's too sedate.
Okay. Yeah, well, it's kind of cool, right? It's obviously that way, so it's kind of a different structure to how I'd assess the painting. It's very formal in that way. Um, this is really nice right in here, this little area. I like that a lot. I got the deep red background, got the nice green color contrast, beautiful subtle shading on the flowers. I like it a lot. Thinking of the backgrounds, one of the things I try to do is to use a gradation. I think that can be a nice effect. So darker at the bottom, lighter at the top, right to left, any different way could help. I'd
Yeah.
also consider melting a little bit of red and glazing it into that stem, just so it sort of appears out of that background.
Okay.
Those would be things that I would do, but this is outside of my realm of stylistic composition, so I'm maybe not the best source to lean on there.
What do you think about adding just a tad of pale red, if you will, like a reflection from the background into the petals of the rose?
For sure, these shaded areas, those could use a little bit of red. I think that would be nice. Yeah, I would do that.
Okay,
This
thank you.
area right here, yeah, for sure. Nice job.
Thanks.
This is a
Dan,
cool scene. Yep.
it's about 8:30, so just want to give you a heads up. I think we have about four to go.
All right, should we crank it out?
Let's crank it out.
All right, let's do it. Okay, so Sharon, you're up.
Hi, Dan.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. Okay, I tend to be way too detailed, and I like the poetry you talked about earlier. How can I do that?
Establish your focal point and then minimize the other items. So what would you say is your focal point in this?
Well, I didn't intend for it to be, but that little triangle shape down in the near the front seems to be it. I was really hoping to lead the eye down the path. So I could definitely tone that brightness down.
Yeah, kind of the way you did here.
Uh-huh.
This does have the most contrast, I would say. There
Yeah.
is a nice directional flow to the composition. I think it keeps the eyes moving. Nice job rendering of the trees and the light and shadow. Avoiding going to black, I think, is a good touch. Nice atmosphere to the background. So a lot of good things, but looking at all of these trees, they all kind of have the same white on the right-hand side.
Yeah.
Just trying to minimize those. This area could use a gradation from darker, cooler to lighter and warmer. Things like that. Soft textures too, whenever we get into lots of hard-edged shapes that draws your attention. And if we have too many of them in the painting, it becomes like too much. And so finding areas to just soften things, like this is a nice handling that foreground or middle ground blends into the background. More stuff like that. I think we can lose the focus and the contrast on the peripheral areas and really highlight the contrast and the emphasis on the focal point.
Okay,
This is cool. Nice job.
thank you.
Oh yeah, and you look at this, you got much more of a variety of darks and shadows in those foliage areas that you could key
Yeah.
in on, and that really does bring the focus to this area here. Love that
Mhm.
white reflected from the cloud. Yeah, those would be the things that I would focus on. Deep water, there's a gradation from a darker indigo up to like more of a muted cobalt blue or cerulean blue up towards the top. So those would be the things that I would look for.
Okay.
Nice job. Nice job. This yours again?
Yeah, this is mine too.
Okay. Another cool scene. You like to paint the stuff I like to paint. Good. Love the melting throughout this value shape so that mid-value reflection separates from the light value sky reflection, and you let the color and the texture flow within that. I think that's a beautiful thing. Squinting the eyes, the value shapes read pretty clear. Let me go to the reference photo. I think, not saying this is a accurate rendering of the scene, but I see a lot more violet and cool colors and darker shadows in that background. I might be tempted to kind of punch those a little bit.
Mhm.
And when you look at reflections, what you're going to have reflected are your lightest lights and your darkest darks. So if you put a little bit, say you want to focus on this warm tree as your focal point here, I would darken it around it, and then I would reflect that and melt it straight down. It's going to naturally draw the eye there because right now there's similar contrast throughout the whole shape. So using value to kind of emphasize a certain spot would be the place I would start with it.
Okay, thank you.
Nice job. All right, got Carol.
Yep, I'm here.
Hey, Carol, cool painting.
I don't usually do abstracts, but I did do this one. I found the shapes very interesting. I was inspired actually by a photo of orchids, but I did not want to actually paint the orchids realistically. I liked instead the movement of the shapes of the orchids.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I see a lot of connected lines and shapes flowing throughout the scene. Nice isolation of white paper. Got some cool accents on your focal point. It's yeah, it's a beautiful abstract painting. And the only thing I would think about with just general watercolor painting is trying to exploit some of the inherent qualities of watercolor, like the soft textures and the gradations and things like that. Those blossoms. So this is all pretty hard edged everywhere. You have good organization to it, but just thinking about variety of texture might be something that I would try to do to just add another dimension to it. This is really nice though.
Okay. Yep, good feedback. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Good job. And we've got quite the contrast of paintings here between this one and your last one.
Yep. And both of them are not typical paintings for me, but I was trying something different. This one, the feedback is on this is a combination of various pieces of magazine photos. So I put together this piece. And so I didn't really have a photo reference to show me the shadows and how the shadows would fall. So I think my question is, how do you kind of figure that out if your photo reference does not show you shadows?
I just define a single light source. I did a video series with Artifacto this summer. I recorded 4 different subjects on light and shadow on those subjects. And then the main thing is finding where your light source is coming from and then casting shadows on the opposite side. So it's a little unclear in this scene where they're coming from. Looks like this building is front lit or lit from the right and the casting shadows on the left. On the chair, it looks like the shadows are on the right-hand side. So maybe a little bit inconsistent in this area. But all I do is just pick one direction and then shadow everything on the other side. And especially when it comes to objects that hit a flat surface. So like this pot coming down, if the light's coming from the right, I would just cast a shadow to the left right off of the base of it like that. And it can go at an angle. It doesn't have to be completely flat. Same thing with the cat. If the cat is being illuminated from the front and the right, I would just make a distinct shadow going this way, and I would do that for every object that hits the ground. And it's a really easy way to kind of make the scene look authentic and consistent. And you can even do that, even though there's some discrepancies in the scene. Then most viewers won't pick up on that. If you just have a few dominant shadows and clear light sources, the rest will kind of just feel right. It's amazing how much you can get away with stuff. So, but nice job on the painting overall. I think it's looking really good and nice fresh application of paint, good variety of color. Yeah, I like it. Nice composition.
Dan, we have one question.
Yeah.
Andy wants to know, do you use reflected light colors in the shadows?
Yes, yep. My general approach with shadows is to start with like an ultramarine base, and then I'll shift it to the local color of the object. And then, yes, if there is reflected light, like in a fall scene where you're looking down a road and there's shadows, you're obviously going to get a lot of color bounce from the leaves around it, so that naturally warms it up. So always looking for localized reflected light. So trying to find an example in this scene. Yeah, you could tint it warmer orange green in some of the shadows here, and that might look nice. Doesn't have to be applied in all situations. I think it's more just when you do see it, especially on rounded objects, you'll pick up that reflected light. And when you've got a very strong illuminated color, like this green here or this red, might tint some of the surrounding shadows with that color.
Thank you very much, Dan.
That's all I got on that. Nice job. This is a fun painting. I like the cat. You did a good job of painting that really simply, without having to over render. I don't see a single hair painted on that cat. That's nicely done. It still
Thank you.
reads clearly. So, hey, this is fun. Good job, everybody. I like all the paintings. Thank you very much for am I back on screen now? There we go.
Yes, you are.
Thank you very much for putting up with my technology issues and for submitting the paintings. It was really fun to see. You guys are my people, fellow watercolorists, so appreciate you doing that and inviting me back to critique. Hopefully it was helpful and you all got a good some kind of a takeaway from it. So this was fun.
Great. Thank you so much, Dan. And we're getting, you can probably see in the chat, we're getting a ton of really nice comments about everything. And yeah, everyone's said this is really, they've learned a lot and are leaving feeling motivated to try some new things. So we appreciate it. Thank you.
Oh, good.
Thank you
Good.
very much.
You're welcome. Happy to do it. So I'm sure we'll see many of you soon in classes and events and all that stuff. So looking forward to it.
Okay, that sounds great. Well, thank you, Dan, and thank you everybody for coming tonight. And
Thank you, everybody.
we'll see you next time.
Sounds good. Bye, everyone.
Happy holidays,
Bye. Thank
everybody.
you.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.